The wind howled through the Montana pines, carrying the sharp sting of regret. I was alone, boots crunching against the rocky trail, each step a desperate attempt to outrun the chaos of my life. At 28, I thought I'd have it all figured out, love, career, myself, but instead, I was hiking to nowhere, chasing clarity that never came. My name is Ellie Harper, and I'd fled to these mountains to escape the wreckage of a breakup that still burned in my chest. Seattle's concrete jungle had suffocated me, its glass towers reflecting a version of myself I no longer recognized. So here I was in the heart of Big Sky country with a backpack of frayed flannel and a heart too heavy to carry. The trail wound higher, the air thinning as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and pink. I stopped to catch my breath, hands on my knees, when the sound of hooves broke the silence. I glanced up, startled, as a horse and rider emerged from the golden haze. She was unlike anyone I'd ever seen, a cowgirl, straight out of a dream, astride a chestnut mare. Her auburn hair spilled from beneath a weathered cowboy hat, and her denim jacket clung to her frame like it was made for her. She looked about 30, with a quiet strength in her posture and a glint of curiosity in her hazel eyes. "Hey there," she called, her voice warm but edged with caution. "You lost." I straightened, brushing dirt from my jeans, my pulse quickening for reasons I couldn't name. "Not lost," I said, forcing a smile. "Just wandering." She tilted her head, studying me like she could see straight through my bravado. "Wandering's dangerous out here when the sun's going down. Name's Riley Kane. You got a name, wanderer." "Ellie," I replied, my voice softer than I intended. Her gaze held mine, steady and unyielding, and for a moment the world felt still. Riley dismounted with a grace that made my breath catch, her boots hitting the ground with a soft thud. She patted her horse's flank, murmuring something I couldn't hear, then turned back to me. "You don't look like you're from around here, Ellie. City girl, huh?" I laughed a little too sharply. "That obvious? Your boots are too clean," she teased, a half-smile tugging at her lips. "And you've got that look like you're running from something." Her words hit harder than they should have. I wanted to deny it, to say I was just hiking for fun, but the truth clung to me like damp clothes. Instead I shrugged. "Maybe I am. What about you? You always ride around rescuing stray hikers." "Only the ones who look like they need it," she said, her smile widening. There was something disarming about her, a mix of rugged confidence and quiet warmth that made me want to stay in her orbit. The sky darkened, the last slivers of sunlight slipping away. Riley glanced at the horizon, then back at me. "Trail gets rough up ahead, and it's no place to be after dark. My ranch is a couple miles that way." She jerked her thumb over her shoulder. "Got a spare room if you need a place to crash." I hesitated. I didn't know this place. But the alternative, stumbling through the dark, alone with my thoughts, felt worse. "You always invite strangers to your ranch?" I asked, half joking. "Only the ones with sad eyes," she said, her tone softer now, almost tender. My throat tightened. I nodded, unable to find words, and followed her as she led her horse down a narrow path. The air grew cooler, the stars beginning to prick through the velvet sky. As we walked, Riley told me about her life, born and raised on her family's ranch, a place she'd fought to keep alive after her parents passed. Her voice carried a quiet pride, but there was a loneliness there, too, hidden in the spaces between her words. We reached her ranch as the moon rose, its light glinting off a weathered barn and a small cozy house. She tethered her horse, then gestured for me to follow her inside. The house smelled of cedar and coffee, with a fire crackling in the living room. It felt like a sanctuary, a world away from the cold chaos I'd left behind. "You want tea? Coffee?" Riley asked, kicking off her boots by the door. "Tea," I said, sinking onto a worn couch. My body ached from the hike, but my heart felt lighter, like it had found a place to rest. She handed me a steaming mug, her fingers brushing mine for a fleeting moment. My skin tingled where she'd touched me, and I looked away, suddenly shy. "Thanks," I mumbled. "Don't mention it," she said, sitting across from me, her hat now resting on the table. Her hair caught the firelight, and I couldn't help but notice how beautiful she was, not in a polished city way, but in a raw, unguarded one. We talked for hours, the conversation flowing like a river. She told me about the ranch, the horses, the endless fight against time and debt to keep it running. I told her about Seattle, about the girlfriend who'd left me for someone better, about the job that drained my soul. With every word I felt lighter, like I was shedding pieces of a life that no longer fit. You ever think about starting over? Riley asked, her eyes searching mine. All the time, I admitted. But it's terrifying. She nodded like she understood more than I'd said. Sometimes terrifying's the only way to know you're alive. Her words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. I wanted to ask what she meant, to dig deeper into the quiet strength she carried, but exhaustion pulled at me. Riley showed me to a small guest room, the bed covered in a quilt that smelled faintly of lavender. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. For the first time in months I wasn't running. The next morning, I woke to the sound of roosters and the smell of bacon. Riley was already up, flipping pancakes in the kitchen, her hair tied back in a loose braid. "Sleep okay?" she asked, glancing over her shoulder. "Better than I have in a while," I said, surprised at how true it was. She grinned, sliding a plate toward me. "Good. You're helping me with the horses today." I laughed, caught off guard. "I don't know the first thing about horses." "Then it's time you learned," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. We spent the day together, her teaching me how to brush down her mare, Daisy, and me fumbling through it, earning a few amused chuckles from Riley. There was an ease between us, a rhythm that felt both new and familiar. By afternoon we were riding side by side across the plains, the wind whipping through my hair, my heart pounding not just from the gallop but from the way Riley looked at me like I was someone worth seeing. As the sun began to set, we stopped by a small creek, letting the horses drink. Riley sat on a rock, her hat tipped back, her face soft in the fading light. "You're not so bad for a city girl," she said, a playful lilt in her voice. "And you're not so bad for a cowgirl," I shot back, my cheeks warming. She laughed, a sound that felt like sunlight. Then her expression softened and she looked at me, really looked at me like she was seeing something I hadn't dared show anyone in years. "You don't have to keep running, Ellie," she said quietly. "Sometimes you find what you're looking for when you stop." Her words hit me like a wave, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. I wanted to tell her she was right, that I felt it too, this pull, this possibility. But fear clawed at me, the same fear that had kept me guarded for so long. Instead, I just nodded, my heart racing as the distance between us felt suddenly, achingly small. The days at Riley's ranch blurred into a rhythm I hadn't known I needed. Mornings began with coffee on the porch, the two of us watching the mist lift from the plains, our shoulders brushing as we leaned against the railing. By noon we were working side by side, mending fences, feeding the horses, laughing over my clumsy attempts to wield a hammer. At 28 I'd never felt so alive, so tethered to a place, to a person. But beneath the warmth of those days, a current of tension ran through me. Every glance from Riley, every fleeting touch, sent my heart into a freefall. I'd catch her watching me as I brushed Daisy's coat, her hazel eyes soft yet piercing, and I'd wonder what she saw. Was it the Ellie who'd stumbled onto her land, broken and lost? Or someone new, someone I was only beginning to recognize? One evening as we sat by the fire, the air thick with the scent of pine, Riley broke the silence. "You ever gonna tell me what you're running from, city girl?" Her voice was gentle, but it carried a challenge. I stared into the flames, my fingers tightening around my mug. "It's not one thing," I said finally. "It's everything. My ex Lauren, she left me because I wasn't enough. My job in Seattle, it's a dead end. I thought I'd have it all together by now, but I'm just a mess." Riley leaned forward, her elbows on her knees, her gaze unwavering. "You're not a mess, Ellie. You're human. And from where I'm sitting, you're a hell of a lot stronger than you think." Her words cracked something open inside me, a vulnerability I'd buried deep. I wanted to believe her, to lean into the warmth of her presence, but doubt gnawed at me. "You don't know me," I whispered. "Not really." "Then let me," she said, her voice low, earnest. "Stay a little longer. Let me see you." My breath caught, and for a moment the world narrowed to the space between us. I wanted to say yes, to let myself fall into whatever this was, but the fear of being hurt again held me back. I managed a small nod, my heart pounding as she reached out, her hand resting lightly on mine. Her touch was warm, grounding, and I didn't pull away. The next morning Riley suggested a ride to the far edge of her property, where a hidden meadow bloomed with wildflowers. We packed a picnic, saddled the horses, and set out under a sky so blue it hurt to look at. As we rode, Riley told me stories of her childhood racing her brother across these same fields, sneaking out to stargaze when her parents thought she was asleep. Her laughter was infectious, and for the first time in years I felt like I could breathe. The meadow was a riot of color, purples and yellows swaying in the breeze. We spread a blanket and ate sandwiches, the silence between us comfortable, charged. I lay back staring at the clouds and Riley joined me, her arm brushing mine. "You ever feel like the world's too big?" she asked, her voice soft. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But right now it feels just right." She turned her head, her eyes meeting mine, and the air shifted. Slowly, deliberately, she reached for my hand, her fingers lacing through mine. My pulse raced, but I didn't pull away. Instead, I squeezed her hand, a silent acknowledgement of the spark that had been building since the moment we met. That night, back at the ranch, I couldn't sleep. I slipped outside, the cool air biting my skin as I sat on the porch steps, staring at the stars. Riley found me there, her silhouette framed by the moonlight. "Can't sleep?" she asked, sitting beside me. "Too much on my mind," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her shoulder brushing mine. "Me too." Then after a pause, "Ellie, I don't know what this is, but feel it. And I think you do too." My heart stuttered. I wanted to deny it, to protect myself, but the truth was undeniable. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice breaking. "I've been hurt before. I don't know if I can do this again." Riley turned to me, her eyes fierce yet tender. "I'm not hurt, Ellie. I'm not going anywhere. But I won't push you. You decide what you want." Her words hung in the air, a promise and a challenge. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not just the cowgirl who'd stopped her horse on that trail, but a woman who saw me, flaws and all, and didn't look away. Slowly, I leaned forward, my lips brushing hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. It was soft, tentative, but it carried the weight of everything unsaid. When we pulled apart, her smile was radiant, and for the first time, I felt like I wasn't running anymore. The kiss changed everything. Days at the ranch took on a new intensity, each moment laced with the thrill of possibility. Riley and I danced around each other, our touches lingering, our glances charged with meaning. But beneath the joy, a shadow led me life in Seattle, the one I'd left behind but hadn't fully escaped. One afternoon, as we repaired a broken gate, Riley caught me staring. "What's on your mind, city girl?" she asked, wiping sweat from her brow. I hesitated, the weight of my thoughts pressing down. "I got an email from my boss this morning. They want me back next week. Big project, apparently." Her hammer paused mid-swing, her expression unreadable. "You going?" "I don't know," I said, my voice tight. "I don't want to, but it's my life. My job, my apartment. I can't just walk away." Riley set the hammer down, her eyes searching mine. "Can't you? What's keeping you there, Ellie? A job you hate? An empty apartment?" Her words stung because they were true. Seattle was a cage I'd built for myself, but the idea of leaving everything I'd known was terrifying. "It's not that simple," I said, frustration creeping in. "What am I supposed to do? Stay here and, what? Be a rancher?" "Why not?" she shot back, her voice steady but fierce. "You're good with the horses. You're good with me. You're happy here, Ellie. I see it." I wanted to argue, to list all the reasons this couldn't work, but the truth was undeniable. I was happier than I'd been in years. But happiness felt fragile, like a dream I'd wake from the moment I let myself believe in it. That night, we ate dinner in silence, the weight of our conversation hanging heavy. Afterward, Riley stood abruptly, grabbing her jacket. "Come with me," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. We rode out to the meadow again, the stars blazing overhead. She stopped by the creek, dismounting with a purpose I didn't understand. "Get down here," she said, her voice softer now. I followed, my boots sinking into the soft earth. She faced me, her expression raw, unguarded. "I've been alone a long time, Ellie," she said. "After my parents died, I thought that was it, just me and this ranch fighting to keep it alive. But then you showed up and, damn it, you make me want more." Her vulnerability hit me like a punch. I stepped closer, my hands trembling. "Riley, I want this too. But I'm scared I'll ruin it. I'm scared I'm not enough." She reached for me, her hands framing my face. You are enough. You're more than enough. But you've got to choose this, Ellie. You've got to choose us. Her words broke me open, and I kissed her, fierce and desperate, pouring everything I felt into it. When we pulled apart, tears stung my eyes, but they weren't from sadness. They were from the realization that I could choose her. The next morning I called my boss and quit. The words felt like freedom, like shedding a skin that no longer fit. Riley found me on the porch, my phone still in hand, and raised an eyebrow. You okay? I just quit my job, I said, a grin spreading across my face. Her eyes widened, then softened. You serious? Dead serious, I said, stepping closer. I'm staying. She pulled me into a hug, her laughter warm against my ear, and for the first time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. Life on the ranch settled into a rhythm that felt like home. I learned to ride with confidence, to mend fences without Riley's guidance, to wake with the sun and feel alive in a way I never had in Seattle. But even as I embraced this new life, doubts lingered. Could I really belong here? Could I be enough for Riley, for this place? One crisp morning as we cleaned the stables, a truck pulled up, its engine rumbling. A man stepped out, tall and grizzled, his face weathered by years under the sun. Riley's expression tightened, and I knew instantly this wasn't a friendly visit. Ellie, this is Tom Carver, she said, her voice clipped. He's been after the ranch for years. Tom tipped his hat, his smile cold. Heard you got a new hand, Riley. Didn't think you'd taken a city girl. I bristled, but Riley spoke before I could. She's more than you'll ever understand, Tom. What do you want? He leaned against his truck, casual but predatory. Bank's breathing down your neck, Riley. You're behind on payments. Sell to me and you walk away with something. Keep fighting and you'll lose it all. Riley's jaw clenched, her eyes blazing. This land's been in my family for generations. I'm not selling. Tom shrugged, his smile mocking. Suit yourself. But time's running out. He climbed back into his truck and drove off, leaving a cloud of dust and tension in his wake. I turned to Riley, my heart pounding. Is it true? About the bank? She sighed, running a hand through her hair. Yeah, it's been rough since my dad passed. I've been scraping by, but it's not enough. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, hurt that she'd kept this from me. Didn't want you to worry, she said, her voice softening. You're just starting to build something here. I didn't want to scare you off. I'm not going anywhere, I said fiercely, stepping closer. We'll figure this out. Together. Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment I thought she'd argue. But then she nodded, a small smile breaking through. Together, she echoed. We spent the next few days brainstorming, poring over finances, looking for any way to save the ranch. I suggested hosting trail rides for tourists, something I'd seen in Seattle brochures. Riley was skeptical but agreed to try. We built a website, posted flyers in town, and within a week we had our first group booked. The first ride was a success, families laughing, kids wide-eyed as they petted the horses. Riley's smile was brighter than I'd ever seen, and as we waved the group off, she pulled me into a hug. You were right, she said, her voice warm with gratitude. This could work. But the victory was short-lived. That night, a storm rolled in, fierce and unrelenting. Lightning split the sky, and a crack like gunfire woke us. We rushed outside to find the barn's roof partially collapsed. Rain pouring in, the horses panicked. Riley worked tirelessly, moving the horses to safety, her face set with determination. I helped as best I could, my heart breaking for her. When we finally collapsed in the house, soaked and exhausted, she buried her face in her hands. I can't lose this place, Ellie, she whispered. It's all I have. I knelt beside her, taking her hands in mine. It's not all you have, I said. You have me. And we're not giving up. Her eyes met mine, filled with a mix of fear and hope. You really mean that? More than anything, I said, and kissed her, pouring every ounce of my resolve into it. We were in this together, and I'd fight for her, for us, for this life we were building. The storm left scars, but it also lit a fire in us. We rallied the community, calling on neighbors and friends to help repair the barn. People showed up with tools, supplies, and stories of how Riley's family had helped them over the years. Watching her direct the chaos, her strength unwavering, I fell for her all over again. The trail rides grew, bringing in steady income, but the bank's deadline loomed. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Riley handed me a letter. "It's from my brother," she said, her voice tight. "He's been gone for years, but he's coming back." I read the letter, my heart sinking. Her brother Jake had left after a falling out, chasing a life in the city. Now he was returning, claiming he wanted to help save the ranch. But Riley's eyes held doubt, and I felt it too. Jake arrived the next day, all charm and city polish, a stark contrast to Riley's grounded grit. He hugged her, but the embrace felt stiff, forced. Over dinner, he laid out his plan: sell part of the land to a developer, pay off the debt, and keep the rest. "It's the only way," he said, his tone smooth, persuasive. Riley's face hardened. "This land isn't just dirt, Jake. It's our history. Our home." "You're drowning, Riley," he shot back. "You think a few tourists will save this place? Be realistic." I watched the argument unfold, my stomach twisting. Jake's plan made sense on paper, but it would break Riley's heart. I spoke up, my voice steady despite my nerves. "There's another way. The trail rides are working. We're building something. Selling means giving up, and Riley doesn't give up." Jake's eyes narrowed, but Riley reached for my hand under the table, her grip fierce. "Ellie's right," she said. "We're not selling." Jake left the next morning, his frustration palpable. But his visit lit a spark in Riley. She threw herself into the ranch with renewed fire, and I matched her step for step. We expanded the trail rides, added a small petting zoo for kids, even started a weekly farmers market. The community rallied behind us, and slowly, the bank's threats began to feel less suffocating. One evening, as we sat by the creek, the stars reflecting in the water, Riley turned to me. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said, her voice soft but sure. "You didn't just save the ranch, Ellie. You saved me." Tears pricked my eyes as I leaned into her, our foreheads touching. "You saved me too," I whispered. "I was lost when I got here. You gave me a home." We kissed under the starlight, the world falling away until it was just us, two women who'd found each other against all odds. The ranch wasn't just land, it was a testament to our love, our fight, our refusal to give up. Months later, the bank called off the foreclosure. The ranch was ours, paid for by hard work, community, and a love that refused to break. As we stood in the meadow, hand in hand, I realized that sometimes the greatest journeys begin when you stop running and start fighting for what matters. Riley looked at me, her smile brighter than the Montana sun. "Ready for the next adventure, city girl?" "With you," I said, squeezing her hand. "Always." And as we rode back to the ranch, the wind in our hair and the future wide open, I knew we'd face whatever came next together. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.